Welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. My name is Brandon. I'm a lifetime Seminole fan.
I'm Chris, and I'm a pumped Gator fan.
And we are putting aside our differences to bring you the fantastic world of college football throughout the Sunshine State. And Chris, I'm happy, just as you are, to say that the 2021 season is finally here, and you and I can talk about what we think will happen.
Oh man, this is a great time of year. It's something that all college football fans have in common right now, and that is hope. We all have hope right now. We all have this collective anticipation and this hope that our team's going to do good and succeed. And now at the end of the year, all but one fan base their hope will be dashed. But right now, I have the same hope, and everyone has the same hope of what our team is going to be like. Now, it might be different variations of hope and expectations and whatnot, but hey, everyone has the same schedule. Everyone, isn't coming off a loss. We I guess if you're looking back to last season, but you get what I'm saying.
I do.
We're all on the same playing field right now. Things might change. It's going to change a couple weeks, but right now, it's kind of like it's almost that feeling like the 12 days of Christmas, that's getting a little bit closer to Santa coming. We're not there yet. I don't see it on the calendar yet, but it's getting closer and closer to Christmas, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, the first day of college football is like Christmas morning, no joke.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love it. I love this time of year. I love looking at the magazines. Shout out Phil Steele.
Yep.
I love looking at the rosters. I'm listening to the coaches talk about their practice and scrimmage, and trying to pick at which games we're gonna probably gonna win, which games we're probably gonna lose, who's our starting quarterback, who's third string corner. I love just talking about that stuff, and we're here, man. It is right around the corner.
Yep. Well said, man. I get choked up when I hear the excitement in your voice and when I start to look at predictions and see all that stuff. And absolutely. Everybody is – it's like the other guys with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. He's like, were you just thinking for Breeze Brothers? Fresh start. Fresh start.
Yeah, exactly.
Fresh start. Everybody's 0-0. Everyone's undefeated right now. And hope can never be higher. No one really enters a season and says, we're going to be worse than last year.
Right.
Even if that's true, we just lie to ourselves and say, nah, we're good. But, here we are. 2021's upon us. So, as we've come accustomed to, Chris, we're going to do a little preview and see how we think the season will play out. So, fun times there.
Let's go down. We're going to go down the list of the games and put our Nostradamus hats on.
Beautiful.
See if we can predict some stuff.
I love it. Now, see, I'm rubbing off on you a little bit. With the crazy references, I love it. So, what's the format here, Chris? Just remind us, we're going to do week by week, Florida State and Florida, and alternate. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah. I think we just take a couple minutes. I'll just kind of give an overview of Florida, my thoughts on the players, some key players, misses, some question marks. You do the same for Florida State, and then we'll just go week by week and just kind of see how we think our teams are going to play out, and then we'll at the end go down the other teams in Florida, just kind of briefly review their schedule and see how we think they're going to do.
Sounds good. I like it. Well, as always, sir, out of respect, I will defer to you to go first. So, initial thoughts on how the season will start for the Florida Gators.
Again, there is that hope, but I mean, with every team too, there is a ton of question marks. So what I'll do is I'll just go on offense, the things that I'm confident about or feel good about, and then things that I question a little bit, and then I'll do the same thing for defense.
Okay.
It's going to be tough for Florida because we're replacing so much firepower. You had 2 first-round offensive players go to the draft, and then they had a second round in Kyle Trask. Pitts and Tony were the other ones. And it's weird because we lost so many offensive players, good, talented talented generational players. Yet I'm not that worried because of who our coach is. Trask was a phenomenal quarterback at Florida. Emory Jones is his backup, but I feel pretty confident in him because of who Mullen is.
Okay.
Emory Jones is a guy that fits Mullen's style system, if you want to go there. So I'm not too worried. It's going to look different. This offense probably totally different, but I have a lot of confidence, at least on the quarterback specifically and just the offense in general. I have a lot of confidence in Mullen, so I'm not too worried about our offense. It's going to look different. Guys are going to have to step up, but that's the strength of our team. Is the offense, is the quarterback, and that's Mullen's strength, obviously. And to his credit, when he had Franks, the offense looked different. When Trask came in, who wasn't as mobile, he tweaked the offense. You go back to when Leak was here. That guy was not his prototypical quarterback. He tweaked it. But I think he does so much better as a head coach and offensive coordinator when you have the mobile guy, your type of guy, and that's who Emory Jones is. And I love that. I'm excited about Jones. I love his arm strength. I love his legs. Now, does he have the it factor, the maturity that Trask had? We'll see. Maybe not.
Okay.
But I'm real confident in that. The running back room, we're returning our top 3 running backs plus 2 5-stars. Our 4th and 5th running backs on the roster are former 5-stars. So in Bowman and Lingard. So I'm loving our running back room. Tight end, good luck. We're not going to replace Kyle Pitts. You're just not going to replace him.
Yeah.
But we have some decent tight ends in Gamble and Zipperer, and even the freshman Elkins coming in. And I really like that unit, even though it's going to be. Kyle Pitts was a unicorn, so I'm not going to say we're going to add more unicorns, but we got some nice horses in that stable. Now the receiving, that's going to be interesting because Tony's gone, Grimes is gone, but I like our guys. I do like Jacob Copeland coming to be that number 1 receiver.
Okay.
The question mark is who's going to be 2, 3, 4, and 5. We got a bunch of young guys, not as much experience. Looking forward to Justin Shorter, I believe another 5-star transfer to step in, Xavier Henderson, and Trent Whittemore. I'm real confident in that solid 4 right there. Florida likes to rotate in the receivers. They'll bring them in like a line shift in hockey. So we'll see who's going to be the other 4, but I like our at least starting 4 receivers. So I'm real confident in our offense, even though it's going to look different. The only big, and I mean big, question mark, Brandon, is the offensive line. Mm-hmm. That is huge. Not just the offense, but as probably the biggest question mark of the whole team is our offensive line. I'm confident in our quarterback. I'm confident tight ends, receivers, running back. I'm not confident in our O-line. So the season's going to go, the offense is going to go as the O-line goes. You got some new guys in, old guys, obviously that's normal. But last year they did pretty decent in pass protection. We're just abysmal in run game.
Yeah.
And you can have a stable full of great running backs, but if there's no push, they're not going to look good. You can have as many 5-stars as you want, but if there's no push, big whoop, right?
Right.
So I'm curious if they can get those guys going, we'll be fine on offense. I think it's going to go as the offensive line goes. So that's kind of the offense.
Okay.
I'm pretty confident as long as the O-line, but that's a big if. As long as the O-line is good, I think we'll be all right on that side of the ball. So
to echo your point there, you've got only 3 guys returning, which sounds like we got more than half. That makes a big difference. And when I jump to Florida State, I'll talk to more about offensive line woes because we know about that. But yeah, you've got with the running game. Last year it was much more heavy on the pass, as we all know. There were games where the Gators didn't rush for 100 yards or come close. But with the running game, 3 of your ball carriers last year, Damian Pierce, Malik Davis, and Naquan Wright. You get them, plus you get the Clemson transfer Bowman. Ooh, that's a really solid backfield. But as you mentioned,
Lingard.
Oh yeah, that's right. So you've got the athletes there. It's just getting that set up in front. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I think with almost literally no experience at wide receiver, that has to be a big question mark and a yikes.
Yeah, but the last 3. I mean, last year we lost. Prior to last year, we sent 4 receivers to the draft, and then last year we have Pitts, Toney, and Grimes. So you had the 4 guys in front of them were drafted. Who's going to fill that void? Well, Pitts, Toney, and Grimes did that. I'm confident though that those 3 guys went to the draft. Well, 2 of them did. I'm confident in Mullen and Billy Gonzalez, the receivers coach. On paper, you're right. You have one experienced guy and the rest aren't. But I'm real confident in Mullen and Gonzalez that next man up, and that part I'm not too worried about.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear you say that.
And really, guys like Malik Davis and Naquan Wright coming out of the backfield on the wheel routes are just – I really could see Malik Davis is the type of guy that could almost be the Kadarius Toney position. Not Kadarius Toney, but just kind of he can be in the backfield – I can put him in the slot. I can put him on a linebacker. I think he can that, and even Naquan Wright too. I think you could see them in the passing game more to help out with the younger receivers.
That's actually a good move. I mean, last year I think it was about 56% pass. I would assume that flips here, but when you do need to throw it, that's probably who you're going to target. I didn't realize this, Chris. I mean, literally by the stats, 378 yards passing per game last year. That was number 1 in the nation. That's pretty intense. So, I mean, you can't really duplicate that, but then again, that's not the goal, I don't think.
No, and Mullen has said several times he doesn't want to do that. He'd rather run more. He just couldn't last year. And then you have Emory Jones as a running quarterback, but if no one's blocking, he might have to be more of a drop-back passer. And I'm interested if Anthony Richardson, our backup quarterback, who's a huge, more like the Tebow build, if he's going to get some packages too, just to spell Emory Jones, because he's going to be running a lot.
Gotcha.
I have a feeling. But it's all about that O-line, man. It's all about that O-line.
Gotcha.
Other side of the ball, defense, we have a little bit more returners, returning starters. Mm-hmm. What's that?
Oh, yeah, you do.
Yeah. So I feel confident about the D line. Zachary Carter, Brenton Cox coming off the edge. We got some new transfers up in the middle. Confident about our returning linebackers, Diabate. You got Ventrell Miller in the middle there. He's very athletic, a little bit inconsistent, but very athletic. And I'm pretty confident in our linebackers too. And I'm confident in Kyer Elam at corner. I think second team All-American, first team SEC. But then there comes the question marks. After that, the opposite corner and our safeties, huge question marks. Okay. We had a guy, Jaden Hill, was going to be that opposite corner. He tore his ACL in fall camp. So now who's going to be that other corner? I mean, Marshall, the freshman, maybe, but do you want a freshman starting on the opposite? Avery Helm, we just don't know who the star, that nickel corner is going to be. Travis Johnson, we just don't know. So I think Elam's solid, but I mean, if I'm the opposing team, I'm looking at throwing it to my second, third, and fourth receiver. So I think you potentially, but maybe. And then safety, Trey Dean's got the most experience, but he's been up and down his whole career. I mean, that was a huge issue last year, was safety. So the front, the line, the linebackers, and Kyer Elam, I feel real confident with. But after that, the other corner, the nickel corner, both are safeties. I'm a little worried, to be honest. I think we can. It's going to be up to the D line.
Yeah.
If they can put pressure on, it's going to make our safeties look a lot better. There are so many games last year, Brandon, where Brenton Cox was just half a second or a second away from sacking the quarterback, but just couldn't get there. If he improves on that, if Zachary Carter lives up to his hype, if the new guys that are transferring in D-tackle, if they live up to the hype, one from Penn State, if they can put pressure on, that's going to help our safeties that are young, inexperienced safeties. If they can't, we might be in for another long season in the backfield.
I tend to think that last year's defense was probably an outlier. I mean, to give up 30.8 points a game is a historic low, and I just don't see any. I mean, obviously, you're going to improve from that, but that's not this type of defense Grantham runs. And you're right. It starts with the defensive line and leadership of Elam. As long as they can get that going again, there's just no way that you see that happen. Now, Florida does draw a tough schedule, which we'll get into in a moment, but I think they can really manage the things there and get Grantham up from that downfall of last year and really improve. I think I agree that you're going to be average in the SEC, with pass protection, just given the returning talent, but you can't really throw to Kyrie Elam side of the field. So at least you got that for you.
Yeah. But, I mean, if we saw it maybe 2 years ago, we had C.J. Henderson, who was an eventual first-round corner. He went down with an injury, and then you saw that was a huge weakness because he was solid, but the rest of them weren't. And when he went down, we were like, oh, we're doomed. So, I mean, unless people step up right away, I mean, Kyrie Elam, in between games, he better be living in a bubble. He better be staying away from everybody because we need him that bad. Because as of right now, I'm not real confident in anybody else in the defensive backfield. A lot of potential guys, but no experience and nothing consistent at least. So I'm really worried about that. But Grantham loves to blitz. He was just what was his name? Slayton and Kyrie Campbell last year. They had injuries up front in the middle. I think that really affected everything. So if we can get a little consistent push up in the middle and Brenton Cox can just get there a little bit faster, that's going to help. But that's a lot of ifs. We have the talent up front. It's just the talent in back I'm worried about.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Okay. All right. Any final thoughts on defense?
Not defense. Just quickly on special teams. Still looking for a returner. Tony was our returner last year. Don't know who's going to fill that spot. Got a new punter, new kicker, and new kick returner this year. So, going to be interesting.
I'll say.
But in the past, Mullen's been pretty decent at special teams, that unit. So, not too worried. I know the kicker is a transfer from Mississippi State, which Mullen knows.
Chrisman.
Yeah. So, we'll see. That's going to be a question mark. Is that really going to hurt us or not? But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, extra points are 97% accurate. So as long as you can keep doing those, how often do you have to rely on a field goal to get you where you need to be? Right. Time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's my brief overview. I know I missed some stuff, and we'll talk about it later. But that's the brief overview of the Gators. A lot of bright spots, but pretty big question marks on both sides of the ball.
Fair enough. All right. Well, thank you for that, Chris. In that same vein, I'll do a quick just overview of the Florida State Seminoles and go the same route here. So we'll start with offense. It's going to be heavy on the run. I think we've already seen that. As of this recording, we still don't know who our starting quarterback is. And whoever it is, whether it's Milton or whether it's Jordan Travis, will dictate what the offense looks like. Mackenzie Milton is probably the number one quarterback transfer in the nation. I'm just going to guess that that's the case, as some people have said that. And it's crazy he may not even start. There are rumors, people were putting things out on Twitter about fake injury and stuff. I mean, he's obviously coming off a gruesome injury from nearly 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And, he's just been cleared to play the start of last season. So if Mackenzie Milton is the guy and we run with him at QB, he's going to be passing the ball a lot. Here's my issue. The wide receiver core is pretty bad. By the end of last season, we were down to one scholarship wide receiver, and almost none of them were catching passes because they were only thrown out of the backfield. Yeah. You had mentioned that with the Gator running backs as well. So that's a pretty big concern. You do get Ontario Wilson and Keyshawn Helton back, but Helton just hasn't got a lot of touches, so you don't know what you have there. Do we use a tight end in a lot of these scenarios? Yeah, that's kind of what Norvell does, but it's not really a main focus, and generally they're run blockers or they're catching stuff. That's kind of short. It does open up, if it's done right with the right offensive line, it does open up for the tight end. It's so strange, Chris. All of our offensive line returns, and I've never been more scared in my life. Yeah, sure. They're all experience doesn't mean you're good. And
if you were garbage last year and you're just returning the garbage,
it's pretty insane. Now every team in the nation is going to say our offensive line is terrible. Okay, and that's funny to me because there'll be teams like Alabama and Clemson that are in the playoff that are saying that our offensive line is terrible. Our offensive line is really, really not good. They've not done quite as much as we would have thought in the last 2 seasons to get that corrected. And so that's still going to be really, really bad, especially if you're going to go with Mackenzie Milton. If he's going to be on his back the whole time or he's going to risk another injury, he's not going to play long at all. Yeah. Now, Jordan Travis opens up a lot of options because, he's basically a slot wide receiver playing quarterback. And they have to respect him, so much. I'm going to thank Jared for that one. He said that, and it's absolutely true. We do get Darius Washington. Dante Lucas is questionable to start, but when he's healthy and when he wants to play, he's probably the best offensive lineman we have, which still isn't saying much. Robert Scott, Devontae Love Taylor, and Maurice Smith. So I would hope that those 5 guys have improved in the offseason to get things going. The bright spot of the offense will be the running backs. So we do get Corbin back, and there's a lot of promise with Tofili. I can't remember what his status is at the moment, but that's where your offense has to start and continue to be successful. Right there is the rushing attack. Last year when you're rushing for 200 yards a game, that's a beautiful thing to see, but it's also really terrible when you're down late, which is what we were constantly facing, and you can't throw the ball, especially when they're expecting you to throw and they know you can't throw. Then you're in trouble because you're going to be punting. It's just inevitability. So that's a quick overview of what the offense is going to look like this season.
Yeah, I'm very, like you said, the running game is going to be, I think, your strength. I really like Corbin. Jordan Travis, he's good for one spectacular play a game. He's going to need to do a couple more. What are your thoughts on Shelba Purdy? And stepping in, Milton, what do you think it should be as far as quarterback? Because do you go with the guy that's most experienced but probably a round peg square hole, or the other guys who coming off injuries?
I think you have to give Mackenzie Milton a chance here to duplicate what he did with UCF in 2017, 2018. You just when you get a guy like that and you've got him for one season, you really have to give that a shot. Right. And you may learn pretty quickly how good or bad your offensive line really is. And, he's going to have some mobility, and he's really just not going to run that much. And that was a big part of his game against UCF. Right. And if you want proof of that, just go watch the Peach Bowl against Auburn when he started terribly. And he literally ran his way out of trouble to just get the offense going. You're just not going to have that guy anymore. And, we have to answer the question, will that be okay? And will he be full strength? So, that being said, the old adage, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one, that's absolutely true for us. It just is. And so it's how do you make the best out of that situation? Start Mackenzie Milton. The only question I have here is, do you start in week 1 against Notre Dame? I'll get to the schedule in a second.
That was my next question.
That's a really tough one for me to say because you've got a team just coming off of a playoff appearance. I don't really know how effective he's going to be. So I just don't know on that one, to be honest. Flip a coin on who you want to run with that one. But after that, the schedule gets a little bit easier early part. I'll save my thoughts on that. Sorry. But with the offense, I think you do have to run Mackenzie Milton as much as you can.
Okay. Yeah, I think finding that go-to receiver, a couple of them, is key. They couldn't do it last year. taking some pressure off. I do like McDonald at tight end, though. I liked what I saw out of him last year. I think he should really, like you said, Norvell doesn't really do that, but I think he should. Because I think you should use the talent that you have. I really think he could help alleviate some of that in that passing game, and help out with the running game as well.
Yeah, let's hope. We'll go to the defense real quick. I wish there were better news here, Noel fans, but they're just not. I think the best unit is going to be the defensive line, but they need to take a step up. They've recruited some depth. We still have Odo Haggins at coach there, but we're still getting used to a 4-2-5 scheme from Adam Fuller, and I really think our best player is Jermaine Johnson. He's a transfer from Georgia, and on the defensive line, he's gotten a lot of pressure, and he's proved it against some good SEC talent. So I really think the defensive line can look up to him and his skill and really kind of get things going. The problem is it's only one guy. Dennis Briggs. Cooper is returning, and so just not a whole lot of progress out of him in his career, but he runs the defensive tackle on the inside, so maybe with Jermaine Johnson on the end, at least we can shut down one side of a rushing attack or get some pressure on one side if it's a passing play, something like that. The linebackers, that's just been a weak spot for years for the Noles. And we literally had guys that are still on the team, like Kellen Brooks, and you're just like, man, you played 2 years ago and you're still here, and you've gotten worse, and you're on the bench.
Yeah.
And it's just really sad to see. So here's to hoping Gaynor and Rice kind of gets some kind of semblance, but the front seven is really pretty weak for the Noles. We do have a bright spot kind of with Brownlee, and then, however we play Travis J at safety could be interesting, but there's just a whole lot to be desired when it comes to this defense, and it's really kind of scary. I mean, last year's numbers were just insanely bad, and so you'd say you're only going to go up, but I don't know if that's true. They really haven't shown a lot of improvement in fall camps and over the summer, so that's a big question mark too. I'm a little bit worried that we're going to continue to give up over 400 yards a game. It could happen.
Yeah, it's like you got 3, maybe 4 returning starters on defense, and you didn't seem too confident about the ones that were returning. So you're banking on a transfer. That's not good. That's definitely not good. What I've seen from the Florida State defense is just inconsistency. Gaynor's had some good games and then not so good. Same thing with Travis J. Some of the fans loved him, and then some of the fans in the next game hate him. So you're gonna have to find some consistency, especially replacing in the secondary, replacing a guy like Asante Samuel Jr. and Nancel Dean. Yeah. You got to step up and find who's going to be that guy or guys to be that leader. Who's the guy, right? Who's your leader, right? Is it that transfer? I don't know if that's the safest bet. Who's the guy? I mean, with Florida, we do have holes, but if you say who's the guy, well, Miller, Carter, and Elam. Who are the guy or guys on defense that's going to lead it? Do you know?
I really think. I mean, Travis J probably has to be like the locker room guy. Okay. Miko Dotson is coming off of his second year transfer out of Florida Atlantic, and he showed some impressive skills last year, especially against North Carolina.
Right.
But it's really hard to say. Do you go with quality? Recruiting has been really good for Florida State, but it's all guys coming in the next year or two. Okay. So we've gotten the bench depth and we've gotten the talent coming in, but it's not there yet. How is this transition really looking? And we're going to say this is year 2 for Norvell, but it's almost year 0/year 1 because last year kind of has to be a wash. You can't ignore the Noles went 3-6, and I wish I had a better outlook with these 2 units, but this is just what I'm seeing.
Yeah, still a lot of question marks. I would say last year is a wash for a lot of teams. Yeah, I'm just looking at the list here. I don't know who the playmaker is on defense. I can name you some on offense. I just don't know who your playmaker is. Who game on the line? Who you're going to lean on? Who you're going to expect to make a play? I just don't know yet.
I don't either. And like what they're saying out of camp, and Jermaine Johnson, who's not even played a game yet for us, could be our best player in defense. Is very possible.
Might be.
Yeah.
Might very. It reminds me of 2 years ago when we had Jonathan Grenard coming from Louisville,
Oh, yeah.
and right away he was our impact player and go-to guy. So it's possible. It's very possible. We leaned on him, and when he was out, we were hurt.
Yeah.
But I mean, the day one against Miami, that game he went off, and we're like, okay, he's the guy. So maybe he does that. Maybe he's that guy.
Here's to hoping.
Yeah,
because we do need to turn it around. And then real quickly, special teams, much to my chagrin, not a very good report here either. Punting will be fine. Mastromono did a pretty good job as a freshman, so we're not really concerned there. But we did have to switch out Grothaus and Fitzgerald, 2 kickers. Each were 4 of 7, which is really bad. So the good news is we didn't kick a lot of field goals last year. The bad news is we were never good enough to get in position to kick one.
Good news is you didn't kick a lot. Bad news is you didn't kick a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So, Yep, there we go. So, a year at a glance.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for that. So let's get down to the schedules. Let's
go for it.
We'll go down. We'll do week by week. Florida State. At the end, we'll just briefly talk about the other teams and maybe some key players and things like that if we need to. So here's to hope, right? Because right now, because I'm do this. I told you every year from this time, I try not to give into the we're going to go undefeated, because you have your gut reaction. You're looking at it, you're like, okay, you probably win this, lose this. But then the more you start listening to the coaches talk and watching the highlights and the practice and all that stuff, you're like, oh, we're going to beat everybody. And that's not the case. So I think I made what's the non-emotional, trying to make it non-emotional picks here.
Good.
So, but there are some emotional picks. But overall, I think I'm grounded.
I have a guess as what they are, but go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the first game for Florida is we're hosting FAU, and this is the first of 3 Florida teams that we play. Yep. FAU, USF, and Florida State. And I think, let me see, we leave 1, 2, 3, 4. We leave the state 4 times.
Yeah.
Because, so the game in Jacksonville and the game at USF. So we only leave the state 4 times. So, but we start off with FAU. We see old Willie again. And a night game, first game of the season. I mean, I think we're the better team. We're going to see. I think we're going to see a lot of players play in this game. We didn't have that luxury last year. Last year, on the road, Ole Miss game 1, so you had to rely on your playmakers. It's nice that we get to play a home game, a lesser opponent. I think you're going to see a lot of second stringers, and I think you might see a lot of Anthony Richardson in quarterback. It's all those running backs in. Willie's got that program slightly on the rise, but I think it's good enough for week 1 against Florida in the swamp. So I'm going to go Gators 45-17. The scores are going to change weekly, but right now 45-17. I say the Gators get a W.
Okay, I can try and throw some scores in mine too. I think we talked about that earlier. So, week 1, just like you, easy team. Going to play second stringers. Nothing to worry about. Just kidding. Florida State hosts Notre Dame. And boy, what a draw! The Notre Dame has an agreement, of course, to play 5 ACC teams a year. Last year, they just played as a full member.
Yeah.
And this is never dull. Every time these teams play, there's something interesting. I think there's maybe one year we blew them out. I think it was 2004 at Notre Dame, but that's rare. That's usually not how this game goes. Notre Dame coming off of a very good season. They beat Clemson. They went to the playoff. The one thing working in Florida State's advantage in this game is the talent drop-off and everybody that left. I think Notre Dame had one of the top 5 offensive lines in the country last year. So when we played them, we couldn't get anything done. And despite actually really good performance by Tamari and Terry, who's no longer with the team and graduated and off. Anyway, Notre Dame still has better coaching, and they still have better infrastructure, and they still have the talent coming behind those guys. But this is going to be a tough one for the Noles. We will know very quickly the resolve and what exactly Mike Norvell's been able to accomplish in the offseason. I would be remiss to not mention the fact that Florida State beat North Carolina at home last year, who was a team that went to the Orange Bowl and was ranked in the top 10 pretty much the entire year. Now, I really, like I had the week after the game, I was like, I really don't have an explanation of how that happened. I just know that it did. And I really don't see a duplicated effort here, but I do see Florida State covering the spread, whatever it ends up being, because I do believe that Norvell will have this team as ready as he can. And I'm not saying he's going to coach this team and he's been preparing for 8 months to beat the Irish and they're just going to go out and pull an upset in week 1. Despite the emotion of Bowden and, coming off of that and having a full stadium again, just the talent there just isn't enough. But I think Notre Dame still does go to Tallahassee, plays the game well. Florida State just doesn't have the athletes to match up, and Notre Dame leaves with the win. So I really think it might even be a single-digit difference, like 9 points. So give me, let's see, 34-25 Irish.
34-25. Okay. I kind of see it's going the same way. I think that place is going to be rocking. Even, you're not putting out your best team. You've got to be careful at Doak. It's probably a night game, right? Yeah, at night.
That's Sunday night, Labor Day weekend.
Yeah. Now, you saw last year at North Carolina. North Carolina, way better team, but Florida State that night, at least for a half, was the better team. Everything went right. I think the atmosphere had a ton to play in that outcome. Coming off Bowden's passing, I think that place is a scary place to go into. Can they last 4 quarters? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think Notre Dame's just a better team. But Notre Dame just got to survive the first half, and I think they're just gonna. I think you're right though. I think it's gonna be closer. I have Notre Dame winning 24-13. I think it's gonna be a closer.
Okay.
Was it 11 points? So I think a lower scoring, but I think around that.
If we held them to
24,
24, that would be a victory automatically, a moral victory. Yeah. I know we don't do those, but I'll give them a participation trophy.
Yeah.
Okay. 11 points.
Very good. I think we're on the same page on that one.
Gotcha.
All right. Next up for Florida is at USF. And interesting. I really like the Buccaneer Stadium. So it's kind of cool that we get to go to it and play. Also, South Florida plays there too, but we're going to the Buccaneer Stadium. Like you said in I think it was the last podcast, or maybe it's this one, that USF's not good. They're just not good. Yeah. But I think I was talking to Jared about this. This one scares me a little bit. I think this game is going to be – I think Florida wins, but I think this game might be closer than the experts think.
Really?
I think because you've seen South Florida in the past where they just hang around or almost beat a team that they are clearly outmatched. The next week they're going to lose at home to Old Dominion, but they like to play up to their competition sometimes. And this is Big Brother coming into your house. You got a lot to prove. I think it might be closer. I think Florida wins like 31 to maybe 20. I think it's close. A little bit too, like maybe into the third quarter close before Florida pulls it out.
Yeah, I agree with you that Florida wins. I disagree that it'll be close and you should be scared.
Yeah. Everyone that I've talked to says I'm crazy to think that. But
the national rankings I'm seeing for the Bulls is like 115-ish. And, let's not forget they were 1-8 last year, losing their last 7. Only victories against the Citadel. So... Okay. Yeah, you just
listen, everything that everyone, you and Jared, other people I talked to, they're saying complete opposite of what I'm saying, and I hope you're right, but I just got that weird gut feeling.
Unless there's some kind of look ahead, there's no way that South Florida can stay in this game. It just isn't going to happen.
That's a good point that I did not bring up. But yeah, our opponent the week following, I think might have. If it was at home, I wouldn't worry one bit. I'm not saying we're going to lose, but I think it might be a little bit closer because it's a team that is, little brother. And we get a chance to beat big brother. We have the biggest fish to fry next week.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit hesitant.
I'm just going to say you really shouldn't be worried. I mean, South Florida does have an average defense by like AAC standards. Like Antonio Greer is pretty good. And so their front seven, maybe you won't get as much done as you would like as far as like getting reps, or you may have to keep Emory Jones in longer than you kind of thought you would. But that's the only way I see this happen. I mean, they really just couldn't score until the very end of the year, and they tend to play towards certain opponents. Like, it's clear they want to beat UCF, and so they showed up differently there. They knew they had a chance against Temple and Memphis, so they played well. But, I mean, if you're Jeff Scott, you have to be realistic with your guys saying, hey, we get an opportunity to play a very good SEC squad here. I know a lot of you guys were at the same high school. I know that you probably are familiar with some of the guys on the roster. Let's go out there. Let's give them a game. Let's show them why we're, in the group of 5 and we're proud and we have a good program history or whatever kind of mess you want to make up. And then you just kind of do your best.
Yeah.
But you got a score on that one?
31-20.
Okay. I'm going to take Florida 37-13.
37-13.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know you didn't. I'm going to do the Florida State one next, but since Florida State plays a lesser opponent in Jacksonville State, I'll just say with this one, it's good to get a Division II school. The big concern here is that, just like the last couple of years have proved, Chris, Florida State is not going to have an easy time to start this game.
Yeah.
There's 2 reasons why. Number one, we've proven year after year that when you have a short week coming off of a Sunday night game into the next Saturday, there's going to be some lag. And that's a conditioning thing, and that's because you're not getting your full 7 days of rest, practice, reps, and you're going to be coming off an exhausting game. So that's the truth of it. And then number 2, we have to remember Florida State has struggled with some Division II schools the last couple of years. Samford gave us
Jacksonville State last year?
We did, and they, in the second quarter, were ahead, or only down a point. And then that's when Jordan Travis had to take over, and then things looked a little bit different. And that's when we were like, okay, well, I guess we're going Jordan the rest of the year kind of deal. But, for the first half, it was very scary. Samford, just a couple of years ago, took us into the fourth quarter, like 6 minutes to go before we took our first lead. Right. Jacksonville State in 2009 gave us a really big scare. So, this won't be all that close. I think they're finally going to get past it. I'm not doubting they're going to win this game, but it's don't expect a very breezy first half at least. But I'll take the Noles here. Give me 44-24.
Okay. We were on the same page of the USF game. We are exact same page on this Jacksonville State game.
No kidding.
I think the Noles are going to be sweating out for 2-3 quarters, but they're going to pull it out. I have them 38-20. It might be closer than the score shows, but I think they're a better team, and it might take them a good half to wake up. But yeah, like you said, the history of these games, where it falls, and these lesser opponents the last couple of years have struggled when they shouldn't have to.
Sure.
But they've pulled it out, and I think they'll pull it out again.
Yeah, I agree.
All right.
Week 3, here we go.
This is it. This is the game of the season for Florida. Hosting Bama, returning national champs, SEC champs. I think I saw a stat that Bama has beaten Florida the last 7 times they've played.
Wow.
3 of them in the SEC championship, and 4 in the SEC championship game. Do you know the last time Florida beat Alabama?
Oh, man, that had to have been 2008. Is that right?
Yep. That's the last time. We've played them a lot since then.
Okay.
Once the Swamp, twice in Alabama, and a couple times, 4 times in the SEC championship game. They just had our number, and they're the top dog. They've had everybody's number, to be honest. But a lot of Florida fans, including myself, were hanging our hats and have the moral victory, if you will, of the SEC championship game. We fought to the end, made it very interesting at the end. They were clearly the better team, though. They were still better than us. And so, I mean, that is the bar. I think it's safe to say this is probably Dan Mullen's biggest game at Florida, or one of them. The SEC championship game, you could say maybe it was his last one. But, I mean, this is it. If you want to prove that you are – I mean, we're pretty good. If you want to prove that you're great, you got to beat Alabama. Even if it's at home, not neutral site or at – you have to beat Alabama. And I think a lot of Florida players and fans are like, oh, we were so close, or close. I don't know, maybe so close, but we were close last year. They lose a lot of players, but then again, Alabama always loses a lot of players, and it's, I lost, 15 guys to draft. Well, here's 75 more 5-stars behind them. So I do like that we play some warm-up games before them. They have to play like Miami week 1. Bryce Young is their quarterback. I like Emory. I know both Emory and Bryce are first-year starters, but I like Emory. I mean, Emory's had more experience. I think the Swamp is going to be rocking. I feel like it's going to be Auburn a couple of years ago, LSU a couple of years ago, that type of atmosphere. And call me crazy, but I think the Gators pull it off.
Wow.
I'm not saying they're the better team, but I think playing at the Swamp is going to be a 3:30 game. It's early enough in the season. Alabama tends to get better as the season goes on. I think that Bama loses to Florida, yet still finds herself in the SEC championship game, probably winning it all. But I say Florida squeaks it out 38-35. I think it's going to be a crazy atmosphere in the Swamp. Don't worry, I'm not saying we're going to go undefeated. All right, before you get there. Like, what? He's picking them to beat Alabama. I'm not. There's some losses coming, okay? But I think it's early in the season. We have a proper warm-up games. They've had to play Miami already in the Swamp. I'm liking our quarterback, at least now, compared to theirs. Yeah, I say Florida wins 38-35.
I knew for some reason you were going to say that.
What's up?
I knew you were going to pick that game. I had a feeling.
Now, the week of, I might be singing a different tune. After we play a couple games, I'll be like, oh, we're going to lose. I mean, they could show us against Miami that it's the same old Saban, and it probably will. But as of right now, I said I wasn't getting emotional. This might be my emotional pick. But I'm going to have some more grounded picks later on. Don't worry.
I don't think you're totally crazy to pick this, though. Early in the season, you may see that's when Saban, as I have mentioned in the past, he struggled with some teams. And you just don't see Florida very often. And you do see what happened in the SEC title game, and it was very close. And to prove I knew that it was intense, our text chat that I've mentioned before for our Patreons went completely silent. And I was like, what are you guys, what's happening? And then when somebody finally mustered a second, they're like, Brandon, we're playing the best team in the nation down to the wire. Shut up. And so, those matchups on the other side, especially since you do get them at home, that's the difference right there. Mm-hmm. And you're right. You do kind of start off there. I'm still going to take Bama to win that game, though. And I kind of think they'll win by 17.
Yeah, the spread right now is 14. And I'm picking Florida, but I mean, I don't think nobody's crazy for saying we're going to lose by 17 at home. You're not crazy at all. You're probably more sane than I am, if anything. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I mean, I wouldn't walk away from that game going, "Oh, I did not see that." No, it's Alabama. Like, yeah, they have that potential, no matter what. But yeah, I could see why you would say that. A lot of people are saying that,
and I still think that's still a close game. I really do. I mean, because you look at like how Bama played Texas A&M last year, Bama destroyed them. It wasn't close, but when you played A&M, it was close. When you played Bama, it was close. So, I think kudos to the Gators as much as I'll give them. They will play them tough, and they will make it a game.
Yeah. I mean, I could easily see it being a 10-point game with us having the ball late, but end up not scoring, and they take the ball down, score.
Got it.
I can see something like that. I can easily see that. I think the Swamp, and now that's going to be packed, we're chomping at the bit to beat them.
Of course.
I still think that they lose to us. I think they're going to end up in the SEC championship game. But
gotcha.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Let's pray that I pick a winner on that one.
Be genius if you do.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay. So moving on to Florida State, week 3. So we're coming off this point of playing Jacksonville State. We're going to Wake Forest. And who thought I'd ever say this? This is a very equal matchup, and programs are at the equal spot in the ACC, right in the middle / maybe the top of the bottom third. So if you're ranking the teams, you're talking about both Wake Forest and Florida State fall in the 6 to 8 range, somewhere around there. And the bad news is for the Noles, Wake Forest returns all but 4 of their starters from last year. And Wake Forest runs a very fast-paced offense. They aim to run 100 snaps a game, no joke, and they constantly do that under their system. And so they're going to throw the ball a lot. They're going to do a lot of hurry up. We're going to snap the ball with 30 seconds left of the play clock kind of stuff. And if our defense is anything like last year, it's going to work really well. And we're not going to be able to keep up with them conditional-wise or play-wise, scheme-wise. It's going to be pretty tough. When we talked about the secondary, maybe we can shut down some guys with Travis J. If you look at a season as a whole, every team has okay, you're definitely going to win, right? There's some games you're definitely going to lose. I actually have this one as a question mark. It's kind of a toss-up, but I really will not be surprised if Wake Forest is favored going into this game. And as much as it behooves me, I'm going to take Florida State take an L here. They're going to play Notre Dame pretty tough. They're going to beat Jacksonville State. On the road with a team that plays that quick, it's just going to be tough. Now, if we go with Jordan Travis and we run the ball a lot, that can take away some possession time, and so we may be able to control the game a little bit more. But with special teams as a question mark and not knowing right now who's going to start, I really think this is a loss when they travel up to Winston-Salem.
Man, we are opposite when it comes to Florida, but we are the same when it comes to Florida State. Our assessment of them so far. I mean, everything you're saying is what I was going to say.
Oh.
Yeah, there's 5 games FSU plays where I'm like, this is a toss-up. And it's one of them. I don't think it's enough for Florida State. I think they do lose a close one on the road. I have 24-21. I think the emotional game of Notre Dame, and then you probably have to squeak one out at home against Jacksonville State, and then having to turn around and go on the road.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be too much for them. So, yeah, I got them losing by 3 on the road.
Okay. Very good. If I had to throw a score at it, I'll give Wake Forest by 7. So, 31-24. How about that?
Okay. Yeah, okay.
I mean, if they get run in the defense, it could get out of hand.
Right.
But I'm giving us some credit there. So,
okay.
there's one of my emotional picks. There you go. Only lose by 7.
Cool. All right, so next up for Florida is Tennessee at home. Tennessee has a very familiar new coach in Heupel, but they're still not good. They're just not a good team, not a good program right now. I think they might be on the up a little bit, but I think Florida is going to maybe struggle with them a little bit. But I mean, the program's just too far ahead of them. I got them at home. So I think Florida rolls 42-24.
Nothing to add there. I pretty much completely agree. Tennessee's going to be rebuilding for the 5th straight year or whatever. So,
Right.
No hope for the Vols yet, and that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Okay. Florida State does draw, I wouldn't say an equal team, but, maybe a team that they're going to be better than in Louisville. They're going to have them back at home. So they're coming back to Doak Campbell, which, by the way, this ends up being a pretty good stretch to start the ACC play in, really, at Wake Forest, which, you're probably not going to be favored, but then you go on the road to you come back home from being on the road, and you're going to play the Louisville Cardinals. And we struggle with them sometimes, but they don't have Lamar Jackson anymore. So, there's There's plenty of things to be desired with Louisville, and they're kind of coming off of a down year. They do return a lot of starters, and they do have Malik Cunningham, who's dynamic. So maybe Satterfield gets some things going. But I actually feel pretty confident that the Noles match up pretty well here. And in seasons like this, when kind of some games are in question, you're like, Louisville's not as good a team this year, and they're coming off a 4-7 record from the previous season. You'd think, this is going to be an equal matchup. I'm pretty confident Florida State wins this game. They do lack some playmakers outside of their quarterback, so he's going to have to do a lot on his own, and I think if we can just stop him, there's not a whole lot they can really do about it. I think by this point in the season, you're hitting week 4, FSU will see some improvement. Now, the problem FSU has had for a couple seasons is that their Septembers are awful, and there's not a lot of good start to it. So at this point, the fan base is really going to give up if you start 1-3, and so I think Norvell's going to feel that pressure, and I don't think he's going to drop one at home. So give me the Noles to win, and I'll give them a 10-point victory here, 31-21.
Okay. Yeah, I think they get back on the winning track here. This is one of those games, the toss-up for them going back at home. I have them winning 28-17. Yeah, finally having a normal game at home really helps them.
I think I did have the question mark too. But
yeah, Louisville's just you say that they're equal. I think they're less than Florida State. I think they can do enough, and Florida State's going to get back on track.
All right, hope you're right.
Okay, next up for Florida is on the road against Kentucky. This one scares me. This game scares me. It's like there's this game on the road at South Carolina, on the road at Missouri. They worry me because I think we're the better team. But I mean, I'm talking about as far as trap games or games that historically we let down. I mean, Kentucky always is. They're that team that just, no matter who the rosters are, they are a pain in our side. And I think maybe we, according to me, we're 4-0, highly ranked, and just coming off Bama, Tennessee, a big rival, and going on the road Kentucky. I know they got some new changes at quarterback and stuff, but this one really worries me. I think this is a classic Florida-Kentucky game where they just annoy us the whole game, and we score a late touchdown, and we win 28-21 on the road. Mullen, he can get our team up for the big games, but also there's at least one game or two a year where he just, I don't know what it is, can't get them up. So I'm worried this might be one of those games, and I think we squeak out a victory on the road against Kentucky.
Okay, I think that's fair. I have Florida winning this game. I couldn't speak to how that happens, but I do just hate to harp on the history of this series, but only one win for Kentucky in whatever 36-year span it is. You just can't ignore that. And Stoops is doing some good things there, but I mean, he's really kind of reached his ceiling.
Yeah, I think so.
And so I think you're right. Florida wins pretty easily. Yeah. Speaking of winning easily, I think Florida State, this next game against Syracuse is a W in my opinion. The Orange have struggled since 2018 or whenever year Babers wins 9 games, and they just seem to get worse and worse. I'm not joking when I say this, Chris. The best player on their team is their kicker. He has actually won the Lou Groza already, or was a runner-up, and they're just awful. In no category at all, as far as like offense or defense, did they get higher than 90th last year overall in the nation.
Oh my!
They were 1-10. They squeaked out one win against Georgia Tech, and they just, here are the scores they lost by last year: 31-6, 21-10, 38-24, 30-0, 45-21. I mean, it's just not good. And they do return about half of their roster ish, but Tommy DeVito at quarterback's not getting it done, and I feel bad for Dino Babers because he started off so well, but it's getting pretty close to the end for him, I think. So Noles win easily, and by easily I mean by 13. So how about 26-13? Does that sound good?
Yes.
No win is coming easy this year.
I have them winning, I think, by more. I have them I think it's they're in control of the whole game. Syracuse puts a late touchdown or two up.
Okay.
But I think it's an easier W for Florida State. I got them winning 38-21. Because
I'd like that.
Syracuse isn't good at football currently.
Yeah, it's a rough road.
Yeah. I mean, I think the score looks closer, but I think realistically it's not. I don't think there's anything to worry about that one.
Yep. All right.
Speaking of not having to worry, the next game for Florida is at home versus Vanderbilt. They are the bottom of the barrel, right next to it. So at least in the East, we get them at home. I think the last time we played them at home, we shut them out, something like that. I think it's a blowout, easy win. I see a lot of Anthony Richardson, 52-10.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be beautiful.
Yeah.
That's again, we would know the truth there. The only thing that would make it interesting is if they decide to pick a fight again.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we're bound for one.
But Derek Mason's gone, so maybe that bad blood is going to evaporate with him. I don't know.
Yeah. There is a game, though, that if I might see where a fight is going to start. I think I know what game it is. But,
ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Hold on to that thought. I'll ask you later.
Okay.
Florida State, so at this point, you've played a pretty good schedule, and you've gotten, in my opinion, 2 wins under your belt. Now you have to travel to North Carolina. Ooh, bad. Not going to sugarcoat. This is going to be a loss for the Noles. I picked them to lose last year, and if it had played out normally, I'd have been right. But I'm glad I was wrong. North Carolina won't be surprised at anything now. They get us at home. They're continuing to have success with Sam Howell. They're going to run a good offense with Mac Brown. I really think this is a game where we can't control their offense, and it could get really ugly, and it will already be ugly. So, give me North Carolina 45-17.
Okay, yeah, I'm thinking North Carolina is looking for revenge, and they have a talented team. I think it's gonna be a rough one. Yeah, I think they lose 40-24. It's gonna be rough.
Yep, it's just a matter of keeping them disciplined, getting some talent in. Yeah, preaching to your guys, hey, we beat these guys last year. That's the message if I'm Norvell. I go with, hey, they don't have the mental edge. This is our game plan. Let's stick to it. Let's keep level heads and, get some reps out of it. To answer your question, this is where you may see Purdy.
Okay.
Maybe for the first time this year. Depending on the health of the other 2 QBs who we go with, this is the time of the season Norvell will probably start to kick in some other gears and give him a shot.
Gotcha. All right. So then, speaking of revenge games, Florida goes to LSU, to Death Valley.
Yep.
And, I mean, you talk about being ridiculed. We're going to be laughed at so much that week, and we deserve it because of last year's LSU game. I still scratch my head on that one. And we're going to – LSU, at least starting off the season, is, I would say right underneath us as far as power rankings or talent, whatever. Close. They're close to us. Still think they're underneath us. Going on the road, it's going to be an emotional game. This might be a game where a fight breaks out. We want to erase that bad memory from last year, that inexplicable game. But LSU has had our number, man. They have had our number. I think they've beaten us, I want to say 7 of the last 10 times, something like that.
Wow. They've
had our number. 2 of those games, we were clearly the favorite in the swamp, and they walked away with a victory. But going to Death Valley is rough. I don't care what talent they have. That's rough. I think Florida goes on the road and loses to LSU. A huge upset. I know we want the revenge so bad. I don't know if we get it. I think we cave into the pressure. I say we lose 31-24.
I actually had this as a loss for Florida, too. I think you have it as their first one.
Yeah.
But, yes, I think the atmosphere and the talent. They showed they can go on the road with lesser talent and beat the Gators, which shocked everybody. And, LSU just... with a backup quarterback, you're like, this is a cakewalk, and then the Gators have a chance at the playoff, and then oops.
Yeah. Right.
And it really comes down to that, and I keep underestimating What's wrong with his coaching? That's my problem. I look at him and I hear the way he talks, and I just don't think it's there. And then the results show different. So, yeah, give me Florida to lose this game. I'd take by 7. 34-27. How about that?
Okay,
a little higher scoring.
Yeah. I want a different outcome. I just don't see it right now, but we'll see.
Gotcha. All right, moving back on to the Florida State Seminoles. Get a reprieve here. Go back home playing UMass. Not much to say here. Florida State does win. Walt Bell is the coach there now. I think UMass is like maybe Division I, but like the worst team. And their head coach used to be our offensive coordinator for 1 year under Willie Taggart. So, some familiarity, probably some handshakes, and then it goes downhill from there. Give me the Noles 52-31.
Okay. Yeah, I think Florida State rolls even bigger, 55-13.
Okay.
I don't think it's a contest.
Yep. This will probably be our biggest win of the year, margin-wise. So, not worried.
Probably.
There.
Yeah, probably. Next up for the Gators, Georgia. I mean, rough schedule. Bama, at LSU, Georgia.
Yep.
JT Daniels is our quarterback. They finally found a decent quarterback. I think we kind of got lucky. They had a rough quarterback situation last year. Defense is always going to be tough. I think we fight them hard. I don't know if we can squeak out this win. I don't know if we can shake off that loss to LSU. I think we lose to Georgia 28-17. I think it's going to be like a couple years ago where they just start off good and we can't rally. We're just playing catch-up all game.
Okay. Yeah, I think much of the same is what you're saying. I think Georgia wins. Last year was Florida's shot. They took it and they got it. They were successful, but it's just they're not going to come very often. So, yeah, Georgia, their defense just continues to be suffocating.
Yeah.
And you'd love to see a playoff contender like that just be a little bit better on offense, but I just don't get my wish when that happens, but whatever. So they just don't score much. 27-20, Georgia. How about that?
Yeah. Sounds about right.
All right. And the next week, Florida State schedule, we go to Clemson. So with this one, did you know that Clemson hates Georgia Tech, Chris? Did you know that?
I think so.
If you look at the scores, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Clemson is clearly head and shoulders above them. They just blow them, and then they just don't stop. I think it was last year. One of the fans can correct me on the score here. I believe Clemson beat them 72-10. I will not be surprised if Clemson does that to us this year. I do believe they're going to purposely run up the score. And they are mad about last year because they came into us and didn't play us. And now we're going back to them. They've always hated us, and mostly our attitude has been apathy. We just don't care. We did, under Taggart, kind of start some punching, throwing, and that didn't help. And then they're still beating us 56-10 or whatever. You have no doubt about it. Clemson is angry, and they are going to put it on us. And I really think this score is 62-17. Clemson.
Oh my goodness!
Yes, I'm not joking when I say that. I really do believe that.
I think you're right about them hating you guys. The score. I think they win. I think they win convincingly. I don't know if it's that bad. I had them 45-17 also. But what you said is right, that they do not like you at all. I feel like it's kind of equates to Florida basketball and Kentucky basketball. Historically, it's not even a contest. How good Kentucky basketball is. But we love to beat them. We don't do it too much often now. But, when Donovan was here, we were beating them. And we just thought we'd won the national championship every time we beat them. And they're like, okay, good, but good for you. But I feel it's the same way. Like, they're just historically, Florida State's this powerhouse, this program. It's just recently Clemson's come onto the scene.
Right.
And they're just like, I remember the 90s. I remember, the 2000s. You're like, okay. So I feel like it's the same way. Yeah, but you're right. Clemson's going to roll. I don't know if it's that bad, but I think they're going to roll.
I do. I hope. Anyway. Yep. All right. Don't want to think about that one too much.
Yeah. Next up for Florida, on the road to South Carolina. Again, another game that scares me. Scares me because on the road, new coach, which helps. But coming off such an emotional highs, LSU and Georgia losses, can we get it back? I think it's close. I think it's back and forth. I think Florida does pull out the victory 30-20. I think it's a game where we're probably in the lead, but they just won't go away. I think it's going to take us a while to get back into the game mentally, and how do you win, and getting back to used to winning. But I think we win a tough one on the road against South Carolina by 10.
Yeah, they got some fight to them. The results last year, they went 2-8. And not only do they have a new coach, they have a lot of new players on the roster. I just don't see a lot of hope for it. I'll take Florida by 13. Actually, a little more comfortable than. But yeah, I mean, you got the X factor down. You would know more about that than me, obviously. So, how about 30-17?
Okay.
Gators.
Okay.
All right. So a little more manageable for Florida State, going back home to play NC State Wolfpack under the lights at Doak Campbell Stadium. This is one of my question mark games. The Wolfpack have our number. I mean, for the last 20 years, we're 500 against this team, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. The Chuck Amato years, you're like, okay, well, they have one of our old assistants, and they kind of know us inside and out. But at this point, it's just like, wow, is NC State more talented? Do they have better coaching? What exactly leads them to beating us so badly? I mean, last year they beat us 38-22, and we were just out of it by the third quarter. It didn't make a lot of sense. So I think NC State does return a pretty decent team, most of it on defense. And I never thought Dave Doeren would have any kind of success after coming from like Conference USA or wherever he was before. And he's kind of proved me wrong. So out of my question mark games, I really struggled with this one because overall, I think 6-6 is kind of the goal for the Noles. And this game will kind of make or break if we get to that point. But because we're at home, I'm going to take Florida State to win. But only by 3, my good sir.
Oh, okay.
Give me the Noles 6-3. I'm kidding. I think by now you'll have an offensive scheme that'll actually score some points. So how about 31-28?
31-28. You had me for a second there. That's 6-3. This is one of my question mark games too. I think you're right. 6-6, like by all accounts, is the goal for Florida State. Getting to 500, getting to a bowl. That's the. I mean, with the talent you have, the schedule you have, I think that's the reasonable expectation. I think they get in the right direction though with this at home. I think, like you said, NC State has their number, but I like Florida State at home. I say by 10. Again, 30-20. Same score as Florida, South Carolina.
Okay.
Noles at home.
Gotcha. All right.
And then Florida plays Samford at home. Not much to say. Easy win, 55-14.
Yeah, I'll take that. No score prediction, but yeah, I agree. Yeah. Another game I don't think there's a whole lot of question on the outcome. Florida State hosts Miami. And I think we all know how much I hate this team, but as we were talking about off air, Miami's a 10-win team this year. Their schedule lines up. They have the returning talent. They are good in a lot of position groups. They have built a lot from the recruiting standpoint, a lot from the portal. Their king returns. I mean, there's just a lot. The defense has always been good, and Diaz has taken over the play calling again, so that's going to make it even better. And so I think Florida State just has too much to handle here, and I think that they drop this one at home. And Miami's probably a 3-touchdown team better than us. So 42-21, Canes win.
Okay. I hear what you're saying, but I think closer than the experts think. I think at home gives them a little bit of advantage of being a rivalry. I think Florida State gives them everything. I think that they push them to the limits. I think Miami still wins, though. But it's a close game, mainly because of the rivalry game. I say Miami 31-24. I think it's going to be a close one.
Oh, and low scoring too. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I think Miami has the potential to blow them out. But I think at Florida State, it's going to help them.
Okay. All right.
Next up for Florida, on the road versus Missouri. Another game that scares me. And this is why it scares me. We've already went through the ups and downs of the SEC season. It was home game, random home game with Stanford. Next game is Florida State, your big rival. Now you're going to go to Missouri, who you are the better team. But Mullen does this thing where pick one game out of the year where he just says, I don't care. I'm going to just not coach us up. I'm going to just be out-coached. There's one, Kentucky at home, LSU at home. This one's on the road, but I say we go on the road and lose to Missouri. What? End of the season, I think that the SEC probably maybe out of reach. I think Georgia is going to be, at this point, going to clinch the East.
Okay.
You could say maybe New Year's Six is in the grasp, potentially. I don't know. In the past, as the season goes on, we get worse. I think it's a trap game. There's always one game where you're like, scratch. You just said what, right? Well, I said what right before LSU last year.
Oh, good point.
Kentucky a couple years ago. There's just one game. There's always one game. He'll get us up. He'll hype us up, and we'll play our hearts out for some games. But there's always one game where this team that's inferior to us beats us. I say this is it. We lose by 1 to Missouri, 28-27.
Wow. I'm kind of surprised on that. I think Florida wins, but I mean, you're right. Missouri has had your number in the past, and talking about our last episode where we were talking about Texas Oklahoma joining the SEC in a couple of years. Oh, when Missouri joined the SEC, everyone thought, what do you bring to the table? And then they won the East 2 years in a row to start it.
Yep.
And they beat Florida in the process. You're like, okay, well, maybe we were a little bit off on them. And it's just, they've been a thorn in your side ever since. So you're not crazy. I'm still going to take Florida here to win. So I think we still have them at the same record because I had a loss to Bama. But maybe the tide turns and there's more coaching that goes into that game. And he did beat them last year, if memory serves. Maybe even the last 2 years. So
we did.
I'll take Florida by 4, 28-24. How about that?
Okay. I hope you're right. I just know. Maybe Mullen did this at Mississippi State too. That's one thing. When he got hired, you can go back. I always said there's always going to be one game he likes to get him up for some games, but he likes to just forget a couple games to coach him up. And he's doing this with Florida too. And I'm not complaining because I like he's a huge step above the other two coaches.
Yeah. But
this is one of his things that he does. So prove me wrong, Mullen. Prove me wrong.
Here's your chance.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. Didn't see that coming. So, for Florida State, after back-to-back home games and playing a rival, they travel to Boston College. So let me repeat that, Chris. A bunch of guys from Florida travel to Boston in November. It's going to be cold. And these are always matchups that I hate that they put late in the year. If we're going to play Boston College, first of all, I want them at home, obviously. But if I'm not going to play them at home, I don't want to play them in the winter.
Yeah.
And
is it the equivalent? Is it the equivalent of them going to Florida State in September?
I mean, that doesn't hurt our chances. If we play Boston College at home early in the year, those guys do tend to struggle with it. What may work in our benefit is that Boston College loses a lot of guys on defense. They don't have a lot of experience coming back. What works to their advantage, and they always have a strength, is their offensive line. Now, what I kind of see, this is a game, if you can't tell, I have as a question mark as well. It's strength versus strength in this game, which is odd. Our defensive line may be the best unit of our team, but the offensive line for Boston College is definitely their best unit.
Okay.
So the game is won and lost in the trenches, right? Who's going to come victorious? I'm pretty sure it's Boston College. And I hate to pick them to win this game because we didn't play them last year, and they've given us trouble in the past, but they've always been more physical. And I think late in the season, coming off of a loss to Miami, which I think will probably demoralize, and/or at this point, we're going to have some nagging injuries. It's going to start to hit us full force that, oh man, a bowl game's in the balance and the pressure is on. I think Florida State loses this game. I really think they go up to Boston College and they don't get the W. Give me Boston College here, 31-28.
Okay. Yeah, this is a coin toss game for me. Interesting. I didn't think about it being that late in the year. Going up to Boston, it gets cold. It's kind of like last year when the Gators had to go to Tennessee late in the year. We weren't used to that. We handled them, which is nice, but I've been toying with this one. I don't know which way to go with it. I do agree with you though. I think it's gonna be a close game. I don't know if they can pull it off on the road. I say they lose 21-24, a 3-point loss.
Okay.
I don't know if they can rebound from that emotional game against Miami.
Yeah.
Going up there, knowing Florida. I mean, we're talking about a trap game. Look who's before you and look who's right after.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I think our luck's running out with the way we went against them, because Boston College was ranked somehow in 2018 when Florida State was like 5-5 and hosting them. And Taggart's first season was like, oh man, this has kind of been a disaster. And then it was 5-5 or 4-5. We needed the win to stay bowl eligible. I think we're memory serves, whatever. It was late in the year, November, and we got them at home and we surprised them and we pulled the upset and we won. And then the following season, after Taggart was let go, Odell Haggins coached against Boston College on the road, and I remember just going to the game like, okay, we need to win this one to go a bowl game again, and it's not going to happen. And we pulled it out. So I just think our luck's run out with Boston College getting us into a bowl.
Okay.
And because I think I probably know how I'm going to pick against the Florida Gators. But yeah, I think it's going to be tough, and I really think reality is going to set in by this point in the year.
Gotcha. All right, so the game.
Yep.
Big game within us. Yep. Florida, actually, it's been 2 years since we played, right?
Yes, and let me just go off on something here real quick. I'm really peeved about this being in Gainesville. What the heck?
I was wondering.
What gives? Does anyone remember what this does for the economy and the fact that somehow the SEC decided to go conference only, and yet we have to go on the road for this? I mean, has UF even said we're sorry, let's concede this we'll go to Tallahassee 2 years in a row? No, which is going to permanently offset this. This is not fair. I don't really care where we're going to lose, but it should be at home, okay? Let us take our pounding at Doak Campbell Stadium so we can make some money off of it and generate the Tallahassee economy. I think that the two schools need to come to an agreement here. I'm not going to be okay with this just being overlooked and not taken care of. Anyway,
I got nothing to say. I'm not for or against it. I do remember when the schedules came out last year, and noticeably we weren't on each other's schedule. I posed the question, so where do we go next year?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, nobody said anything. It just happened.
Yep.
I mean, obviously I'm biased and I like the fact that it's at home. Gives us a better chance to win. But if the roles are reversed, I might be mad too. I might be just as mad as you are.
Fix it. Fix it. Somebody.
I'm not gonna write a letter to the governor trying to fix it because it benefits me. But I get where you're coming from, though.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, a year ago, I was like, hold up. So what does this mean for where do we go? And you're right, no one said nothing. Yeah. ACC, SEC, nobody said anything.
And I know that Florida and LSU had some kind of thing with a hurricane or weather, and you guys alternated, right? But you got it corrected.
Right, yeah. But you'd have to do that with every team, though.
Well, this one is interconference, and last year the SEC didn't. And so,
I guess, I see what you're saying.
I get 2020 was off, and we don't really know what to do with it. But
check this out. last year we picked up A&M on the road, right?
Yeah.
So now we get Alabama here, and if their rotation stays as it should, we get A&M on the road again next year.
Oh, weird.
Just because that's just the way it worked out. That's just the way it was going to happen anyways.
Okay. Huh.
So, yeah. Oh, I feel you. I'm not too happy either.
Weird. I mean, this is a game, though, that's been played for decades. And it goes, now we've faced the idea that it's interrupted, which affects a lot of state because, I mean, you and I bonded over this game, 15 years ago. And that's where our relationship kind of began. And, there's not a whole lot of teams like interstate. Like, I don't know a lot of Miami fans, all right? But I know a ton of Gator fans because I'm in the Orlando area. They're everywhere. I know a lot of Florida State fans. So this matchup really gets the schools talking. It gets a lot of vibe. People that don't know anything about football still know the Gators play the Seminoles. And they may mix up the names or they may forgot they played, but they're going to remember on Monday. Like, oh, yeah. Oh, I had a distant cousin who was a Gator. And, yeah, so I'm glad they won. You're like, okay, we're done talking. But, at least they know something about it, right? The state needs to do a better job to get this corrected to get the game going again. All right. I'm going to stop now.
I have a solution.
Okay, what is it?
Now? I have a proposed solution. How do you feel about this? This year and this year only, we meet a neutral site.
Oh, Lord.
The Hard Rock. Orange Bowl. Home of both our rivals.
Oh, man.
I don't know if Orlando might make more sense. Jacksonville. Ooh, Jacksonville.
You guys play in Jacksonville already. Oh, man. Knowing the powers that be.
Would that work, though? What are your thoughts on a neutral site?
No, I want it home. We owe a home. We're owed a home game.
So, but we're not getting a home either.
Yeah, well, Jacksonville, I could do that because we have a pretty good record there. But you guys play there every season. Why don't we just meet in the middle and play in like Lake City or Live Oak? How about that?
Oh yeah, that's
just a high school football stadium in the middle of the
Florida or Tampa.
Anyway, sorry I went off on that tangent, but now we can get back to this actual year's preview.
So,
my apologies
for the
football
game at hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think at this point, I mean, obviously Florida, we know is the better team at least right now. I don't care what the teams are. I always am nervous because rivalries are rivalries. Last two times Florida State won, Florida hung, I think, 40 points. I don't know if Florida hangs 40 on Florida State this year. I think we get close, though. I'm curious to see where we are, who's still on the team at the end of the year, injuries, all that stuff. I think Florida State gives us a good quarter. I think Florida State, I don't think it hang the whole game. I do have Florida winning 38-20. I think our defense is going to. We have the experienced defense. I think they're going to carry us through, and pull us, get us. I think they're going to be the X factor in that game. So yeah,
that's victory. That's fair. And what you're saying about the defense, that really has to be where it starts the whole year for the Gators, right?
Yeah.
Your defensive line anchoring your attack, the rushing game, getting much better, throwing two players out of the backfield.
Yeah, I mean, our weakness on, and at least as right now, our weakness on defense is the secondary. Right now, you throwing the ball isn't a strength.
Gotcha.
So, again, we'll talk in 13 or so weeks. And it'll be different. But as of right now, yeah, I say Florida wins kind of comfortably, 38-20.
Yeah, and the Gators by this point, assuming it plays out like we both think, probably don't have a shot at the SEC title game. They are playing to get that extra win to be considered for a New Year's Six, which they're probably going to get if I were to say everything falls the right way. And by then, Florida State will be completely exposed, and you'll know exactly what you can do, which is pretty much anything. You're going to have success running it and throwing it. Even though your numbers may look bad passing the ball the rest of the year, you're probably going to have a lot of success doing it that game. Because if Travis Jay is playing and or maybe Dotson steps their game up, you're still going to be able to have success, and there's going to be a threat there. So I think Florida wins pretty comfortably. I actually think it's going to be in the 41-28 range
Okay.
because the defense it has to be better. And giving up 400 yards a game, they may start to look like that by the end of the year, and it's not going to be great look for the Noles. And I think the Gators win easily.
Okay. All right, so I think we are different on Florida, but I think pretty much the same on Florida State, at least our assessments. I have Florida going 9-3 and FSU going 5-7, just missing out on a bowl.
Yep, I was exactly the same. So, and I think for everyone listening, just to recap, the only wins I have for Florida State might have been the same as yours. I can't remember.
I think so.
Jacksonville State, Louisville, Syracuse, UMass, NC State.
Yep, that's it.
And so I guess on yours, the only thing we had flipped is I had Florida
Bama
beating.
and Mizzou.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. All right, cool. It's fun. I love the hope that we have.
Hope springs eternal,
Potential.
as they say.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay,
All right.
well that's our forte. As promised, we're gonna run through the other Florida teams really quickly to give them a shout out. Chris, did you have some thoughts on maybe the Miami Hurricanes?
Yeah, I mean, they return a lot. Miami returns a lot. They're highly ranked. I think the beginning of their schedule is okay. You get past Alabama, I think it's a loss. I think Appalachian State, Michigan State, Central Connecticut, Virginia. I mean, I think you're going to get some steam. Then you go to North Carolina. I think they're going to lose a little bit more than you think they are.
Okay.
I have them going 8-4.
Oh.
I just don't. I haven't seen Miami yet live up to the hype. They've been hyped for the last couple of years. They haven't lived up to it. I'm curious to see how King comes back from his injury. They return a ton of starters though, especially on offense. They do need to replace some guys on defense, but I mean that's Manny Diaz's specialty. I think you're gonna come up to. I mean, I don't see them beating Alabama on the road. North Carolina is tough. They're probably gonna drop a game or two where they shouldn't. So I have them 8-4, not living up to the hype yet again.
That's actually quite a bit different. I have them 10-2. So the only losses being to Alabama and North Carolina. I really think they take care of business everywhere else. Well, that's quite a bit of difference. How about that?
Yeah. I think they slip up later on.
Totally get it. I mean, you're right. That every year it's like, is this Miami's season? And then the answer is always no.
Yeah, right.
But I really think they've done enough, and they're going to be consistent enough to challenge for the Coastal. It'll just shake out if they lose a North Carolina game to see if UNC slips twice. That's the only question.
Yeah.
So
I mean, after that game, I mean, the schedule looks better second half, but we'll see.
Because they're in the Coastal, which is the weaker division.
Yeah.
Florida State doesn't get any of the easy teams on that side this year.
You do have to worry about Florida State at Florida State. Va-Tech, you never know.
Right.
So I'm not sold. I'm not sold yet. I mean, they prove me wrong, but I'm not sold on them.
I understand the reservation 100%. I get it. I was going to flip over to the UCF Knights really quick. I think that they have the benefit of Gus Malzahn, who has a lot of early success at his schools. Plus, he comes into one of the best quarterback rooms in the nation, not just in the Group of Five or even in the P5. I mean, they're a top 10 caliber QB room, top to bottom. The only thing that they may have to work on is getting some rushing production. They didn't run the ball a whole lot. Plus, they lost Greg McCrae and Otis Anderson. So it's going to be a lot of Bentavious Thompson, who has good success. So I don't think you should be too worried about it. This will be a team that passes probably just as much as the Florida Gators did last year, if not more. So on their schedule, I only have 4 question mark games. That's Boise State at home, at Louisville week 3, at Cincinnati October 16th, and hosting Memphis October 22nd. I really think they have 8 automatic wins on their schedule. So out of those question mark games, I think they go 2-2. So I have them 10-2 overall. If one of those losses is Boise State, who really cares, is not a conference game, it would just be from a motivational standpoint, like you lost your first one kind of deal.
Right.
But watch out for the Broncos. I mean, they did upset Florida State at home a couple of years ago, so they do mean business. And it's a question mark. At Louisville, that's an old conference foe, but Louisville, we know, is just not very good. So that's just more like is it early in the season? Does Louisville surprise them kind of deal? But yeah, give me 10-2, and I do have them winning the American this year.
Yeah, I'm going to echo a lot of what you said. I have them 10-2 as well, and I think they really only have two questionable games. Maybe Memphis, Boise State, and Cincy. I have them losing those. Although I could see them winning one of those two games. Really, I could see them 11-1. Really, I'm pretty high on them this year because Gabriel fits Malzahn's offense. I mean, he's perfect for that. I mean, he's already running something similar already. I think this is going to be smooth. So yeah, I'm high on the Knights, and I got them losing the two games. But I mean, honestly, 11-1 isn't crazy to me.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, cool. So South Florida Bulls. Yeah, they're not that good. They won their first game and then lost the rest of them last year.
Yeah.
Still trying to figure out what's going on there. They do host Florida. That's going to be rough. And at USF, I think there's a little bit of improvement. Of course, I mean, it's not too hard because when you're rock bottom, it's the only way to go up. But I have them going 4-8 this year. Small improvement, but I don't think that they're going to make too much of a ripple.
I think that's pretty good. I had them going 3 wins, and I make a lot of jokes at their expense, but they got left quite a mess with Charlie Strong, and so Jeff Scott's doing the best he could. And then last year was a bad time for that to happen. So I have a lot of automatic losses for them. They're going to beat FAMU, so week 3 they're going to get a W there. The question mark games I have are at Tulane, at ECU, and hosting Temple. They came really close to beating Temple last year and very close to beating Memphis as well as UCF. So they can play tough. But give me 3-9 for them on the season.
Yeah, that's a good pick. All right, so FAU.
Yeah.
Willie. Yeah, I think they're on the up. I really do. They start off at Florida, which isn't good, but I really like the way the schedule lines up for them. I still only have them going 7-5. I could see them doing 8-4. But yeah, I think they're making the right moves though. I really do within their conference. I think they're making the right moves, competing for the Conference USA title. I don't know if they're going to be there yet, but I say 7-5, maybe 8-4.
I have it 8-4 here, and they get some wins at Fordham. They're going to beat FIU. I think UTEP, Old Dominion, Western Kentucky. Some of those have given them some trouble in the past years, but they don't have to play Louisiana Tech, who's going to be pretty good in the conference this year.
Yeah.
So they get lucky there. Some question marks, but 8-4, I think, is where probably they're going to land. Don't know if that's enough to get them in the title game, but they're going to contend for the division for sure.
Yeah. All right, and then wrapping up with FIU, who that last year was rough. 0-5.
Yep.
They had to cancel a bunch of games and just, yeah. I think they're going to win some games. I think they're going to play more games, and they're going to win some more games. I actually have them going 5-7, maybe a little higher than it should be.
I like that.
I think they're going to turn. I don't think they're turning the ship around this year.
Well, they start off with Long Island and Texas State. That's a really good way to start the season when you come off 0-5. And yeah, I think they sneak out a couple of wins in there. Charlotte's not going to be very good this season, so play your best game there. Old Dominion, North Texas, they're going to get a couple here and there. So, yeah, give me 5 wins for FIU also.
All right. Whew. Okay. That is it.
Yeah.
I interesting in 3-4 months down the road, listen to this podcast and see how way off we are. But as of right now, we're the smartest people ever. So
yes, exactly. And I think for Florida State fans, it's finally starting to hit everybody. Like, okay, this is where we actually are. I'm still going to hear people, hey, we're going to go 9-3, and that's just going to happen. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
And I hope that I'm wrong and we turn a corner. But, I mean, we really have to be setting a better expectation for ourselves with the Noles and give ourselves some leeway here and say, it's been – this is our 4th head coach and it's been years, and there's COVID. And there's been a lot of failed expectations, a lot of coaching turnover, a lot of program changes. You just have to give yourself that allowance and just take off the garnet and gold glasses for a second and look at us from a national perspective to say we're just not where we need to be yet, and it's going to take some time. So that's my message. Obviously, I'm wrong, and I didn't give us enough credit to pull an upset like we did against North Carolina last year, but I think if there is a game to do it, Chris, is against Notre Dame week 1. I really don't think we match up against Miami very well or Florida. We certainly don't match up against Clemson, but to get to a bowl game this year, you're going to have to pull an upset. You just don't know where that's going to come. And Notre Dame may be that best shot. It honestly may be. And if we do, then the whole season sets up differently. Because if you win Notre Dame for some reason, then you beat Jacksonville State at home, then you're like, oh, the Wake Forest game looks winnable now. And if you beat them, then you play Syracuse. Then you're 4-0, okay? Now you're in a much better spot to go to a bowl game. And then you got people like, oh, we're going undefeated national championship. Yeah, that's going to happen too. I get it. But I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility. We just don't have the talent to get there. And the wins are just going to be hard to come by.
Yeah, you're going to need – I think you're going to need it earlier instead of playing catch-up. Get that like at Wake or – I don't know. Say it's – yeah, Notre Dame maybe. I say Wake is your best.
Yeah.
Best bet.
That's a good one.
Maybe even BC late if you're gonna go late.
If you can muster that game, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I think it's your best bet. Yeah, but I think you are one of the few, maybe not one of the few, but at least I'm hearing that it's just like, hey, let's get to a bowl. Let's just get to that. And then, I mean, we were there. Florida was there. Not too long ago, honestly. Like, hey, let's just get to a bowl. Focus on that. And it's tough though when you're used to not only going to a bowl, it was a foregone conclusion, but a good bowl, right?
Right.
And so it's tough transition, tough reality to. But if you think, hey, get to a bowl this year, get to a better bowl next year, then we can, like you said, those recruits are going to come in. As of right now, you got some pretty good recruits.
Yeah.
You know, get Norvell settled and his guys in here. Be patient, know it's coming. I know we're in this instant gratification society. You've had success. You went from Bowden, who was a dominant guy, to Jimbo automatically wins. So it's tough you have to reset the culture at FSU to being patient.
I like that.
I think you are. I don't know if every FSU fan is though. And so that's where you guys have to be in Florida. I think a lot of people are, hey, we're going to go 11-1. I think this is going to be a little bit more of a rebuilding year than people think. So,
gotcha.
I think we're going to take a slight step back. I think, even though I have us beating Alabama, I don't know can we sustain that the whole year. I don't think so.
Okay.
So I think we're taking a slight step back, but next year I think is the year that we really should put Jones will be maybe a senior, junior. He'll be a year under the program. We have some pretty good recruits the last couple of years. They're going to be, especially on the defensive side of the ball, the secondary is going to be built up a little bit better. So I think Florida fans, not this year, next year, then really start looking for the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah, a little bit of a transition year, and it's kind of nice to have the blessing of, we're going to probably still be winning 9 games and still have next year to look forward to as an improvement. That's a really good, comfortable blanket to wrap yourself up in at night.
It is.
I don't have yet. My blanket's covered in holes right now. It's just not great. And to quote my friend Lynn, I was talking with her today. She said, with Florida State at this point, are you putting Band-Aids or are you putting stitches? Are you doing short-term or long-term healing? But either way, you're wounded.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, not a fun position. We were there, but you'll get out of it. I don't want you to, but I think you will get out of it.
Yeah, and I mean, getting to a point where you're competitive against rivals, that's a big thing, and then we're not there. I mean, Florida handled us pretty easily 2 years ago, and the year before that. Miami handled us very well last year. We didn't play Clemson, but that's what would have happened. It's going to happen again. So it's going to reach a breaking point where the coaching staff says, hey, you know what? I'm tired of losing. Tired of being tired. And you'll figure it out. But we're just not there quite yet, and we just need more time.
Yeah. It's just so the fan base is patience. Patience.
Yep.
Steady.
Yep.
So cool. Hey, love talking college football with you.
Yeah.
Excited for this season.
Well, and our fans and listeners know that we like to be thorough when it comes to the season, and we just needed to spew out all of our thoughts, and so that's why this one's more thorough and lengthier than you'll see on the week-to-week basis. But we feel like the content is worth it. We did some research, and hopefully you can take that with you. That's the goal.
Yep.
Absolutely. Chris, well, how can fans reach out to us if they want to give us their feedback and talk about wins and losses and records this year?
You just got to go to FloridaFocusPodcast.com for all your Florida Focus podcast needs.
Yes. And we love talking college football. Obviously, I know you can hear the passion in our voice. But if you feel willing to support us, patreon.com/FloridaFocusPodcast. Thank you so much to Jared, Tyler, and Ingram who continue to support us and allow us to give more content and give you a sneak preview and access to our private chat. So if you're so inclined and you want extra content and you want it early, you can become a Patreon as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Well, Chris, it's been a pleasure as always. Any final thoughts before we get the season kicked off?
Let's just get this going. I can't wait. Can it be September yet?
I know, right?
Please. I'm ready, man.
Yeah, me too. Let's get week 1 started, but I'll even watch the week 0 stuff. Even though it's not good, just to get it in.
I'll take it.
Exactly. All right. Well, this is Brandon. Thanking you so much and saying go Noles.
This is Chris. Go Gators.